Hello, weary traveler. Stay a while. I hear you have many questions about the Nine Realms. Do not fret, for I am Archmage Elmister, and I am here to answer all of your questions. So come with me as we examine all of the challenges in these most unusual times.
Hello, weary traveler! I am Archmage Elmister, and welcome to another episode of Elmister Answers, the show where we will be answering all the questions about the Nine Realms. Now, before we get into this episode of Elmister Answers, I have to address one of the concerns/questions that I've been getting of recently, and that is, Elmister, are you truly a real wizard? Well, as you can tell by my wizard staff, my wizard hat, my wizard beard and hair, I am in fact a real wizard. But people have been asking me, Archmage Elmister, you have not done a single bit of magic yet. And honestly, as a wizard, that is quite offensive. That is quite an offensive thing to say. But I am not one to not take up a challenge. And so as such, I will be performing a magic trick with this deck of cards right here. See, look. All 52, no jacks, no jokers. I mean jokers, not jacks. I don't know Jack. But anyways, I will be shuffling this deck of cards right here. And if I am able to guess the top card on this deck, then I am truly a wizard. So, if we just keep on shuffling real quick, maybe hit it with a little bit of the shuffle right here, maybe hit it with a good sloppy shuffle. Good sloppy shuffle. Hold on. Sloppy shuffle right here. Sloppy shuffle right there. Boom, boom, boom. Alrighty. Now, you're probably wondering, how are you going to unshuffle this deck of cards? Well, you see, there is only one card in this deck that isn't flipped right side up. And if we go right through all of these cards right here, we can see that the Queen of Spades is not right side up. Now that's a magic trick from yours truly, Elmister Answers. And if we could please stop questioning my authority about if I can or cannot do magic, that would be quite appreciated. But anyways, getting on to the episode of Elmister Answers. Today we will be talking about a concern of many people that I've been hearing from in Wizard College right now. And that is elementals, okay? And specifically artificial constructs. Yes, we are talking about elemental constructs. Now you're probably wondering, Elmister, what is a construct? Well, I'm glad that you asked, because a construct, my dear viewer, is, in fact, an artificial man-made being. Yes, man-made being. It is quite crazy that magic has gotten this far, honestly. But, you know, it is quite concerning because there are some adverse effects from elemental intelligence, or as I've dubbed it or coined it, EI. Yes, we are talking about EI this episode. EI, my friends. Yes. Now you're probably wondering, elemental intelligence, what are the adverse effects? What are the consequences of EI? Well, let me tell you, my good friend, I have been doing my research and I've been seeing just some things, observing some things. And let me tell you, it is not great. Now, talking about one of the main EI organizations, we obviously have to look into the champions of grand phantasmal trickery, or as I like to call it, Champ GPT. Yes, we're talking about Champ GPT. Now you see, when talking about ChatGPT, it is quite a crazy story because it open magic. You know, the sources of the magic are open. The sources of the magic are open, but you know, it is not a good how dare you say organization. The magic profitability is down in the dumpsters, my friend. Down in the dumpsters, draining on all their finances. And that's where the trickery comes in. Because you see, they keep on saying things that sound correct, but they don't have necessarily any exit strategy or any way of really creating something sustainable. I mean, the magic they're using is just seeping into everything. I mean, you've seen it with the water, with the magic use, the energy usage of these different Champ GPT wizard centers. You know, it is quite crazy. It is quite wild. But yeah, it is quite a drain on both finances and wizard resources right now. And, you know, their only exit strategy right now is obviously talking to the Emperor and his colleagues and figuring out how to be a part of sort of the empire, you know? The another wing of the bureaucracy there. And it is quite terrible, because if it becomes a part of the bureaucracy, then all of us, commoners, wizards, everybody will have to pay for this drain as well. And don't even get me started on flora. Yes, I'm talking about flora. Flora. Yes, the thing that Champ GPT made, the sort of the plant making, it implants everywhere, but it's dead. Flora is dead, and that's what I'm saying right now. Flora has died in a fire, and it is 'cause it was unsustainable, and they knew it. Okay. Whenever you're dabbling in such things as the dark arts like flora and creating different things without putting in the effort, people, then it is just quite terrible. Oh my goodness. Flora EI. Yes, I'm talking about flora. It creates different things, or at least it created different things. It is gone now. And good riddance, I say. Good riddance. When you're working with the dark arts such as that, and when I say dark arts, I mean it quite literally, because it makes art. But it is fool's gold. It is fool's gold of art. It is not real art. There's no heart. There's no human input. No wizard magic. The passion is not there. It is just false, empty people, empty travelers. And so I say, beware. Beware of what you see all around the world, because you never know if that could truly be real. You gotta keep an attentive eye. You know, I try to cast different spells to see, but it is quite hard, you know. You know, Devil's Sight can only do so much, you know. Devil's Sight can make you see through darkness, through dark magic, but it can't let you see through falsehoods or illusions. And you know, I respect the College of Illusion. I think, you know, there is a whole lot that can be taken out from it, you know. But the College of Illusion, you know, it's got to be taken with a grain of salt, my friends. If you start taking illusion as reality, then you slowly lose your sense of reality. And that is quite terrible. And talking about just losing the sense of reality. Let's talk about losing just the sense of motor function, sense of critical thinking, my friends. If we're talking about just a whole bunch of different EI or artificial constructs, we obviously have to talk about the adverse effects that it has on wizards' mana. And yes, when I'm talking about mana, I'm talking about the ability to cast spells at a higher level. Like when obviously you're a lower level wizard and you don't know a lot about things, it can be hard, okay? But I've been working really hard on, refining my craft, my magic, making sure that my spells are tip-top to the point, ladies and gentlemen. And, when you don't have the experience, or you just don't put in the work, or if you offhanded put it off to someone else, you're not really learning anything. You're not learning anything. And, even if you do know something, it is quite terrible. Because if you are using these different EIs, such as Champ GPT, it can really make it so it's harder to access different parts of your mana, different mana functions. It is literally making you worse at the basic things that you do as a wizard. And that is quite concerning, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? That is quite concerning. And so, for anybody just curious in interacting with it, I say beware. Beware! Because it is a slippery slope, ladies and gentlemen. 1 minute, you're offhanding, you're doing one thing, and then the next minute, don't you know, you're now reliant on an orb. You're reliant on a being beyond your comprehension. I've heard a thing or two from warlocks, okay? They make deadly pacts with fae, with evil beings, devils, demons, gods. And there's always a catch. There's always a catch. There's something lost. If you're a warlock and you're watching this, you know that something is always lost. You're never the same when you start dealing in powers outside your comprehension. And so, for everyone watching today, I just say, look out for EI, okay? We need stricter supervision, because once the EI starts gaining, its own sentience, because right now it is in that weird state where, we've created it, but it needs to be prompted. It needs to have a task or a goal. But with these ever-growing developments with different EIs or elemental constructs, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, it is just beware. Stay smart, stay vigilant, and look out. Anyways, that's all that I had for this episode of Elmister Answers. For all of you who are concerned about these trying times, just know that I, Archmage Elmister, I'm one of the most knowledgeable wizards of the Nine Realms. Anyways, that's all that I had. Alakazam!
What inquiries would you like Elmister to answer next? Please write your questions in the comments below, or contact me via carrier pigeon. The Nine Realms is a complex land, but hopefully you've enjoyed your stay. Until next time, I'm Archmage Elmister. Good luck, weary traveler.